Good evening and welcome to the Monday, October 25th, 2021 public board meeting for the Kingston City Land Bank. My name is Mike Gilliard. I'm the executive director of the organization. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes per speaker, and we thank you for joining us. With that, I'll turn it over to Daniel Cantor, our board chair.
Hello and welcome to our October board meeting. I would like to note this marks 3 years of board meetings, so congrats to all. We gotta do the physical locations thing. So Daniel Cantor, 142 Clinton Avenue, Kingston, New York. Aneshka
Shebek, 259 Abeele Street, Kingston, New York.
Karen,
Karen Rue at 70 Stefan Street in Kingston, New York.
Mr. Mayor,
Steve Noble, 101 Wilson Avenue.
Bob,
Dennison, 122 Wilson Avenue.
Bartek,
Bartek Stardai, 354 South Wall Street.
Ilana,
Berger, 146 Franklin Street.
and Omari.
Omari Washington, 49 Greenhill Avenue.
Great, thank you. Okay, can we vote to adopt September's meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion that we adopt September's meeting minutes.
I second that.
All in favor of adopting September's meeting minutes?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion passes, I think unanimously. The only one I didn't see was Karen. Bye. We're all good. Okay.
I think Serena just joined us.
Oh, hi, Serena. Welcome.
I did. Hello. Still setting up video. I'll be with you in a second.
No problem. In the meantime, could you just tell us the physical location from which you are taking this meeting?
Yes, I'm happy to report that it is 20 Cedar Street, Kingston, New York.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. So I'll try to keep it brief. It was an exciting and very busy month. Before I forget, for the old timers, I think Bartek, Alana, and Omari, the 3 of you plus me have to redo our ABO training by the end of this year. I know. I think I'm doing it on Thursday. Super easy to sign up, so get it done. So in the last month, I think we acquired 29 Rogers Street and 108 110 Henry. We met with the mayor as well as representative from REPCO to discuss properties that have been foreclosed since 2018 that were not on resolution 172. I think Bob will speak more to that meeting during his committee report. The RFPs for 24 Hamilton and 108 110 Henry have been issued. They are live as of today or Friday. So tell the world. I have to do a post on Instagram, stuff like that. But I think those, why would I try? I think December 13th is the due date, Mike, for both of them, and we have walkthroughs scheduled. It's all in the RFP. We held our very first fundraising event at the Kingston Standard. Thank you so much to everybody who volunteered time to do that. I think at Finance and Audit, they will tell us the results, but I think they were pretty good. And a reminder on that, we still have a matching grant or matching donation through the end of the month. So any last minute donations will count toward that. So we have what, 5 days, 6 days. Otherwise, the Kingston Design Show House extravaganza has come and gone. So that was over yesterday. It was covered by a plethora of local and national media, and has been a very interesting thing to watch unfold. I got to, with Mike, tour the house with the prospective buyer who's under contract right now. I can happily report, loved the house, loved everything that they did to the house, including some of the craziest wallpapers I've ever seen. So that was reassuring. So he's super excited, and it was really, really cool. So otherwise, we're probably a few weeks out from C of O on that house. I think we are expecting to pass inspection at 248 Main tomorrow, and 64 Van Buren has been CO'd for a while. So that's great. Otherwise, proposals came in for 124 Franklin and 149 Greenkill, the final 2 homes in our 5-home pilot. They were a lot. So we will be talking about that more later. We have some ideas about how to pivot a little bit and still get these projects done. So I think that's kind of what I can think of, at least. So I will stop talking. We have one member of the public, Jared, although you're welcome to speak. Otherwise, we will breeze past the public comment period. You good? Okay, we'll go into Mike's executive director report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'll try to make this brief as well, but just in summary, on our pre-development side, we currently still have 10 properties under pre-development. Maybe to put these into buckets, so it's a little more interesting. 5 of those are designated for legacy cities. That's Rogers Guild, German, Union, and Early. 2, as Daniel mentioned, are out for RFP, Henry and Hamilton. 2 are moving into some sort of construction that we'll talk about a little later in the meeting, which is Greenkill and Franklin. And 1 is under consideration for a sale, which is 111 Downs, and that still needs to be sorted out. In addition, the discussions with the city of Kingston are still ongoing, and the city has expressed an interest to us in engaging with an initiative that would involve Mivuibi and BIPOC developers and the KCLB working on vacant lots. So to be continued on what that could look like. And the conversation around, as Daniel mentioned, future discussions for future acquisitions are still moving forward. We're still waiting to see more title reports. We haven't seen any since last month, but we are told that we should be seeing some more soon. Yeah, that's my update on the pre-development side. Construction, I think Daniel covered it. Very excited to have our C of O inspection tomorrow at Main Street. So please cross your fingers, cross your toes. I think it should go well. Thank you, Owen, for overseeing that process. And 174 would be the last building that we're looking for a C of O on. I think we're definitely going to be getting it next month, and just kind of sorting out the final details on that home. On the sales side, we received our first what's called a commitment letter for 248 Main Street. This is where essentially the bank and the lender, or the grant providers and everyone else say that they're ready to close. So we're in the process of scheduling that closing for next month. Super exciting. This will be our first sale. The other 2 homes will probably be receiving similar notices to move forward in the next couple of weeks. So we're still all on schedule to have all 3 closings in November, which is great. Also, just to give you some updates on the conversations on the sales side around the homeownership counselor position, we still are expecting to post that next month with a goal of making a hire by December 1st and being ready for our next sales and marketing period, and obviously the legacy cities sales and marketing period, which will probably start around the time that those homes start early next year. On the funding side, we have 2 grant proposals in de novo, one for our 2022 operating and the second for legacy cities. Both of those obviously have been flagged as a priority for Novo to give us the thumbs up, hopefully. I think that they will. and they understand time is of the essence. So by the next meeting, we will definitely have a determination by them as to what those grants look like. But they've been under review for a few months, and we've gotten overwhelmingly positive feedback, just trying to tweak some of the details. Also, as was discussed before this meeting started, the city is having its first round of conversations with the public for the stimulus funding through the consulting firm that I am forgetting. My goodness, I'm so sorry. But Nicole Allen is the woman at that consulting firm whose name I forget. Spoke with her, and she said that we would be met with as part of the process. So very exciting to have a seat at the table, at least to advocate for uses of those funding. And then under the other category, we'll touch base probably a little bit more on some of the committee discussions around the exciting event, the ribbon cutting / home for the holidays that we'll be celebrating our first sales coming up next month. I wanted to say thanks to Julie and Bartek for helping out with that. I know Julie's not on this call, but she's really, just for everyone's awareness, is really helping out in the background and doing a great job. And then one last minor piece of, I'll put on my IT hat of housekeeping. For those of you that use the Kingston City Land Bank email addresses, thanks to Bartek for helping me get through it. We now have the ability to use @kclb.org as your email address. It's a little bit shorter. You can just go into Gmail, you can add it, you just add an email address, but just for your awareness, just one minor thing. And that's it.
Thank you for making that happen.
Daniel,
Sure.
could I ask Mike a quick question?
Of course.
Just for the Legacy Cities grant, do we need kind of Novo's approval to actually kind of fill out the actual Legacy Cities grant application, or is that something that we can do sooner while we wait for them to kind of review everything?
Sure. So it would be best if we had a firm commitment from them for the amount of subsidy they'd be providing in the application. The application itself is basically done. We've selected a partner, we've selected the buildings, we have the budget filled out, we have the cost estimates done. So we're kind of in this little limbo of maybe a week or two. But I think we will get a good read from them on something we can rely on. Not a firm commitment, it would be contingent on actually closing the next week or two. I think we'll probably be able to put an application in by then.
That's great. And if there's anything that, officially in my other capacity that I can do as mayor to be able to help write a letter of support or, help get, just please let me know.
Will do. Thank you very much. We would appreciate a letter of support. So I'll follow up with you on that.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Okay, so we have a weird special election that I'm probably going to flub the process of, but as you guys know, Karin and Aneshka are both, life is changing. Karin is moving, Aneshka is probably moving, I think, for a while. So we need a vice chair and a treasurer to round out the year. And I don't think I've heard from anybody. So let's see what happens. So let's start with vice chair. Is anybody, so all we're talking about is November and December. We will hold our regular annual elections in January. So if you wanted to try being vice chair, now's a great time. Are there any interested parties?
Do you want a nomination or do you want to volunteer?
I would take either.
Well, if it's a volunteer, I'll volunteer for the next 2 months to be vice chair, absent anybody else's objection.
So I guess I will officially nominate Bob, or somebody should.
I don't know the process here, but I support that self-nomination, volunteer, or whatever.
Thank you. So barring any other candidates, I would entertain a motion to elect Sir Robert Dennison as our vice chair for the next 2 months.
I move to
Oh.
nominate
I will
Robert
second that.
Dennison.
I think we're moving to elect.
Oh, move to elect. Yes, I move to elect him as vice chair for the interim ad hoc.
Oh, sorry, I need a second.
Oh, I will second that. This is Karen.
All in favor of electing Bob Dennison as our vice chair? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Bob, for doing that. We appreciate it. Okay, now the most coveted role in the organization, treasurer. Same question. Anyone interested?
I mean, it's probably not appropriate for me to throw Amari under the bus, but if he's willing, I think that, you know, he has served not only as treasurer before, but also attends all of the treasury meetings. And so I think if we were looking for someone for the next 2 months, I think Amari would be great if he's willing to do that. But again, we hadn't talked about it previously, so I'm just really throwing his name out there. So I'm sorry, Amari.
Oh, God.
I was just going to say, I think that's an excellent suggestion and would love if Omari would consider that.
The next 2 months are a little busy for me, but if no one else is available.
I'm not hearing a ton of excitement from from anybody else. So
I'll still be on the finance.
Omari,
committee.
Omari, I just want to remind you that now we have the wonderful Erica to assist you with many of the things that were not in place when you were first in that role.
No,
Just
totally.
wanted to remind you.
Yeah, I'll do it. It's fine.
thank you. So I will entertain a motion to elect Omari Washington as our interim treasurer for the months of November and December 2021.
I make a motion to elect Omari Washington as treasurer for the next 2 months until new elections happen in 2022.
I will second that.
All in favor of electing Omari as our treasurer?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Omari. And I'm sorry. We're lucky to have you. Okay, great. Glad that's out of the way. Bob, give us the committee report.
What a fun one. Okay. The acquisition and disposition committee met. We had a wonderful time. The notes are in the file if you're really interested in that. But we resulted with in two things that require action by the board. We received and reviewed the bids for cleaning out the clean out of 169 Hurley, 69 Gill, 29 Rogers, and 24 Hamilton. And we received, I want to say 5 bids. The lowest responsible bidder is Mountain Moving. They've worked for us before. The bid is $11,500. So what I'd like to suggest is that the board vote to accept that bid and award the contract to Mountain Moving to clean out those houses. So the first activity would be for someone to make a motion to accept their bid and award the contract to them. Anybody interested? Daniel?
I'll make a motion. I never get to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll
I'll
second that.
second that.
All in favor of awarding the contract for these cleanouts to Mountain Moving? Oppose? Abstain? Motion passes, I think unanimously. I didn't see Serena's vote in it. Okay, yay, unanimously. Great, thanks, Bob.
Okay, the next item of business that came out of the Acquisitions and Disposition Committee meeting is the review of the bids that we received for the renovations of the two houses that we're about to begin. The first one is pretty easy. It's 149 Greenkill. The lowest responsible bidder was Medea, who I always say wrong, Madeira Construction, who are the, I know I got it wrong. Daniel will have to correct me. Who are the people that did our Van Buren house? They're a minority business enterprise. They're very competent. We had a wonderful experience with them. And their bid is about $257,000, I think, $257,000. And we have every confidence that they can accomplish the job on time and do a great job. So I suppose you want a motion to do that, Daniel. So someone should make a motion to accept the bid of Madeira Construction to renovate 149 Greenkill Avenue.
I will make that motion to accept that bid for Madeira to do that renovation.
Nobody's going to second it?
I'll second.
All in favor of awarding the contract to Maida Construction for the rehab of 149 Greenkill, aye. Motion passes unanimously. Gonna be great.
No, he only bid on one of the projects, which is to our disappointment, but he's also, my understanding is, going to do future work with us. He's a careful guy and he does good work. The second house, 124 Franklin, we received bids on. We received 2 bids on 124 Franklin. They were dramatically different. One of the bids was from a contractor from Marlboro who is new to contracting, obviously. And there was gaps in his bid. He left out work. It really was kind of a mess. So we're considering that to be an informal bid. He didn't really do what he needed to do to make it a formal bid. The second bid came from a local firm, and Itinerante Design Build, and their bid was about it was actually $437,000, which is way higher than we expected, and in our discussions over the contracting committee, way more than we should spend for that. So the recommendation that we're making is that bid be rejected. Well, once we reject the bid, we can talk about what our ideas are for another path to getting that building renovated. So I would ask Daniel to entertain a motion to reject the bid, the bids for the renovation of 124 Franklin.
Sorry, Bob, did I miss, how much was the bid from the first contractor?
Well, because it was an informal bid, I can tell you he bid about $187,000, but he left off lots of items of work. And we had the architect do an evaluation of the final bid, and it would have been closer to $200,000 if he included all the work that was specified. But the fact that he didn't include all the work that was specified, and the fact that he doesn't have a work crew, he really doesn't have the infrastructure necessary to do contracting. I think he was hoping that this would be his first job and it would give him an opportunity to hire some people and start to get organized as a contractor, which is fine, but we were uncomfortable with relying upon him to finish our project. We did have a long discussion about whether we should go with him anyway and try to carry him through the job. But that's a huge load. And if he went, he could very well have gone bankrupt in the midst of it or taken forever to finish it. It just didn't seem like a prudent thing to move forward with him. So, and the second contractor was just so high that it was nuts to go that direction. So that's kind of that's the story. So you're looking for a motion, Daniel?
If you feel we need one,
I think we need, I
Yeah.
will make a motion to reject the bid of over $400,000 to renovate that building. Now I'm concerned as to what we're gonna do next.
Well, we have some thoughts, which we can get into next.
All right, I'll second that.
all in favor of rejecting Interfonte Design Builds?
Are you looking to reject one or both of the proposals?
Both of the proposals.
Both.
Rejecting the bids. You're rejecting the bids for the job.
We're rejecting proposals, Bob.
That's
And-
correct. Sorry. Good catch.
And sorry, both of Interronte's bid, but we already awarded Meta for Greenkill.
But you're rejecting your proposal is to reject all the proposals for Franklin, not just Interronte's.
Oh,
Yes, that's correct.
sorry. Yes, thank you.
So you're looking for a vote?
Yes, I think so. Motion to reject all bids for 124 Franklin at this time.
I'm sorry, can I ask one more question?
Yes.
And this is in part my ignorance on the process, but the high bid that was received, is there a negotiation process that can take place to reduce the cost? Or is that pretty firm based on how it came in?
It's a good question. We certainly did do contract negotiations for our first three. They do not tend to reduce costs very much. And we did have an interview with this contractor, and essentially pricing is firm on the existing scope. Scope reductions could change that, but frankly, the way that we approach these renovations, there's not that many scope reductions to choose from. And essentially, we sort of already know it's not going to get us where we need to be. So
I have a question real quick, just since we're giving it this attention. Is there any reason to believe that there is going to be some kind of significant increase in these construction costs because of outside issues and supply issues and just like the cost of lumber going up?
yeah, I mean,
I just want to kind of keep that in mind, because it's what occurred to me is like, maybe things have gotten a lot more expensive, but I would have no way of gauging that in terms of a reasonable scale to expect how much they would go up at this point.
yeah, so certainly lumber is more expensive and various supply chain issues all over the place. But in this case, I mean, we're talking about a gulf of $150,000 to $200,000 beyond kind of where we expected to be and where other bids came in. I mean, I think it's worth bearing in mind that Franklin and Greenkill do not have radically different scopes of work. They are not radically different houses even. So I think Franklin appears scarier and more intimidating just because it's been vacant for so long and all of that. But yeah, I think certain price increases totally understandable, but I don't think this accounts for that.
Yeah, and Serena, I would add that this contractor, Interronte, bid on Greenkill as well. And his price for Greenkill was about double what the other bidder bid. So the pattern seems to be that his company is very expensive on whatever they do. So so it wasn't, he was consistent with his other bid in being way high.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you for putting that in perspective.
yeah, no, it's a good observation.
I would just like to add that this is certainly not personal. Luke seems like a great guy. He is local. lots of good projects under his belt, and he actually reached out to us a while ago to see how he could get involved. He walked a couple of properties with me prior to the RFP being issued, different properties. So we are extremely grateful that he's kind of given this his attention and threw his hat in the ring. It's not his fault that we can't afford it, for what it's worth. So with that, should we vote?
So did we vote? Did you reject the bids?
We didn't vote yet,
Okay.
but I think we did all the motions.
Okay.
So I would call for a vote on rejecting the bids that we've received for 124 Franklin. The proposals we've received for 124.
Right.
So sorry. Motion passes, I think unanimously. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. So
I can talk about the Rupco call if you'd like.
should I talk about Plan B for Franklin?
Yes, we should talk about Plan B first. You're absolutely right.
So my beginning of an idea is that we have essentially a little less than $60,000 kind of allocated toward this house in the enterprise grant, which will be expiring at the end of the year. Typically, they like to see like fully executed contracts for the full rehab. Obviously, we aren't really going to be able to do that. So it's definitely a conversation we need to have with them, but having worked with them prior to Mike's arrival, I think they're going to be amenable to this. So essentially treating this rehab as 2 phases. And the first phase we would self-perform, and that would kind of take care of some fairly big tickety things. So new roof, that's a fairly easy thing for us to hire and oversee. Potentially the window replacement, the demo of there's a whole addition on the back of the house that's like truly falling down. And so demolishing that, potentially interior demo based on the plans that we already have. So we know which walls need to come out and stuff like that. And possibly the sewer and water line. We have a report from years ago that the sewer line needs to be replaced. I'm not sure if anyone's scoped out the water line, but so basically adding those things up, I think that effectively draws down the enterprise money, and then we would reissue an RFP probably in January that takes into account the new scope of work that has, all of these various things removed because they've already been done. So fair amount to kind of figure out there, but I think it's actionable. It, allows us to keep moving. And I think ultimately will result in better proposals when the house has a little less going on. It's kind of my thought. So that's what I have to say about that. I don't know. It's a bummer. Not the way we'd love to do it, but
Daniel, I'm so sorry if I missed while you were talking. Did you say that you've reached out to Enterprise to see if the remaining funds or some of the funds could be used for those sort of initial steps?
Not yet. Mike has regular calls with them, so he's going to talk about it with them next time they speak. So yeah, that's why all of this is pretty preliminary.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really great, sort of plan B. So just need to figure out how that's covered. Obviously, you know that.
I think it's gonna work. This all sort of was on Friday afternoon when we sort of made the call that we just can't afford this kind of expense. I'm sure he would do a beautiful job, but so anyway.
Good.
What-
If everybody has, if nobody has questions, I can talk a little bit about our RUPCO telephone call.
Yeah.
And course, and subsequent correspondence. We did have a call with RUPCO and with the city to talk about the future of the two organizations that are engaged in affordable housing in the city. And part of the heart of the phone call, well, there's two things. One is that we want to continue to communicate with them. We want to have regular meetings. The city suggested that, and we agree. So we'll set up a regular meeting schedule with the city and RUPCO to talk about what we're doing so that we don't overlap, so that we don't compete to our disadvantage, which is what the fear is. You know, you don't want to be hurting the outcome by competition. RUPCO we had talked about a collaborative adventure in legacy cities, where we would be kind of a go-between the city and RUPCO for property transfer and for properties that they would like to make a legacy cities application with. And we thought about that. We talked about it. We looked at the mechanism and the issues around it, and we decided that it really wasn't really was cleaner for us to say go without us in the middle of this whole affair. So we told them that last week, or we said, thanks, but no thanks, go forth and prosper. And they, so my expectation is that they will go with their own on a legacy city application and be dealing with the city about property ownership or the, transfer, if it has to be transferred, can it, all the questions around legacy city and the title of properties that'll be included in that. So so we're going our own way because we had already set up to do that, and they're going to take a shot is what I guess. So the good news is that we will have regular meetings, and I think that's important. And hey, if everything works out wonderfully, there'll be 10 houses renovated through legacy cities for the city of Kingston. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. Or if there's anybody that, like Daniel was on the call, Mike was on the call, and so was Mayor Noble. So if there's anything that I've left off, please chime in and correct or revise or call me to task.
You did a great job, Bob, summarizing. I wish you were on all my calls. Great.
Bob, you're muted.
I'm best muted. I think that's it for acquisitions and disposition. I think I don't see any other issues that we talked about. Alana, is there anything I've left off from our meeting? No?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, I'm done. Good deal.
That's my cue. All right, thank you, Bob. Finance and audit. Karen, your last committee report. Actually, no, second, penultimate.
I'm super happy and grateful that Omari is stepping in. I know he'll be absolutely fantastic. So if you all had a chance to peruse the financial report that Erica Lane put together and was included in the minutes, there's not a whole lot that's terribly that would stand out, but certainly stop me if you did come across something that you'd like explained, and I'll do my best. As you can see, we did for the month of September receive $2,510 in individual donations. 2,500 of that came from one individual, which is an extraordinarily generous and very exciting donation to receive. And I believe actually that individual made some other offers of services to sort of help support the organization in the future. So making friends. So that's going through the profit and loss statement. We have received, all of the Novo funding that was allocated for this year so far. There is some contingency funding that could be added in, or that is available, of about 116,000. But as of right now, all of the designated funds from Novo for 2021 have been received. There is still some funding for enterprise that is still out there, and that would be accessed as expenses are completed. So you will also see really the most significant is under project expenses. That was 117,000, which is a big number. That is actually 2 months worth of expenses from one of the contractors. So that's August and September. They did not submit anything for August. So that's why that number looks quite so large. On the balance sheet, you'll see that Catskill Hudson Bank checking account is getting very close to zero. Just as a reminder, that's the bank that the land bank moved all of our funds over to M&T from Catskill Hudson. That's down to $350 now. So that'll be nice to close out. I don't think there's anything to really point out there. On the statement of cash flows, again, there was some funding for acquisition of property. The exact house is not, or property is not coming to me at the moment. I'm sorry about that. I don't know if Mike wants to chime in on that, or if anyone looks for that. If we look at the budget to actuals, so this is sort of where we are now, January through September in the actual versus what was originally budgeted. The pledge income, foundation income, it looks like we've received way more than we should have, but that was actually just sort of staggered out when the budget was being set. It was just, the overall amount that had been determined that the land bank would have for the year of 2021 was just sort of divvied up on a per month basis. So obviously the funds don't come in that way. So it looks like we're way over where we are supposed to be, but we do anticipate that will catch up and even out by the end of the year. Excitingly, if you look at donations, those have really been picking up. So obviously the $2,500 donation was a significant part, but we are up to, as of the end of September, at $3,450. And I'll give a little more of an update on that in fundraising. So property sales income was budgeted at $562,500 as of now, but those properties will sell in November, and so that line will change from a negative to a different number. And so I don't think there's anything else that really stands out in Erica's notes. She notes the $2,500 donation. It was the Rogers Street property that was purchased for $21,000. And again, here, as I mentioned, she points out that the project expenses were $117,000 because it's 2 months worth of work for one of the contractors. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. As always, thank you so much, Mayor Noble and Omari, and for being such wonderful and supportive committee members on the Finance Committee. I'll follow up with Daniel to see if I still participate as a board member through at least November, because my term, I'm committed to staying with the land bank through the end of November, or if, but we can follow up on that later.
Yeah, so just real quick, committees elect their own chair. So it's up to the three of you if you would like to remain chair of the committee or not.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And on the compensation committee, would you like to? I don't know how to do this.
Well, I think that was executive board members, just sort of as part of the bylaws, I believe.
It's not actually part of the bylaws, but it's what kind of made the most sense.
Oh, okay.
At this point, the compensation committee is officers because Bob is now vice chair. Bob joined the committee and Neshka left the committee. And now it's a question of, I think it probably makes sense for Omari.
Yeah, because it would otherwise, I mean, you would have like an empty seat for the month of December. So I think that makes sense for if Omari is able to. I mean, I'm certainly, maybe we talk about that offline. I'm certainly happy to sub for Omari for the month if he wishes, or he can join whichever.
So I have to appoint committee members.
Okay.
I'm getting so good at process.
Clearly I'm not on governance.
Okay, so Omari, are you willing to join the compensation committee in your capacity as treasurer? We don't have like regularly scheduled meetings. We just sort of meet as needed. But basically for compensation matters.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just 2 months.
So I don't know exactly. I guess I'm removing Karin from the compensation committee and appointing Omari. And now it is comprised of myself, Bob, Omari, and Bartek.
Great.
Okay.
Get it all done.
And now the floor is yours again. Thank you.
Okay. So if there are no other questions on finance, or no questions at all, as always, thank you so much to Erica for putting together this fantastic package, and Mike for your support in working with her on that.
I just wanted to say, Karin, thank you so much for what you've done and for the way that you put things in layman's terms, because I feel like I never have to ask a question because you explain things in a way that I can actually understand, and I really appreciate that.
Aw, thank you. I thank you very much.
So it's not that I don't have a question, it's that you already answered it. So I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you. And it really is due to a lot of Erica's help on that. She's a great resource on that. Thank you. And yeah, so I appreciate that, Serena. Thank you. It's been a great learning process for me.
Would you like a motion, Daniel, to accept that? I'd be happy to make that motion if you need to accept the treasurer's report.
Sure. I don't know if we ever have.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we don't. I thought we did. No, I don't know.
There's never enough motion.
You should though. You're right.
Yeah, like I said, we should really vote to accept the treasurer's report.
I'm still holding the floor, so I move to accept the treasurer's report.
Okay, I'll second that. How's that?
All in favor of accepting the treasurer's report from October 2021.
I guess I don't vote on that.
Why? I don't know. Motion
As the treasurer?
Well, one has abstained. Sorry. I suppose.
Yeah.
Man, I'm really killing it tonight.
I'm not being very helpful.
No, you're doing great. Fundraising.
Yeah, so fundraising. What a fun month. So we had our event at Kingston Standard. And thank you, Omari, for putting that together with the Kingston Standard. He reached out to them and they incredibly generously over a positive weekend and the Kingston Design Show House first weekend. They gave us a great space for a table. And we set up some posters. Thank you, Bartek, for making this, well, I know you didn't make it with your own hands, but for coordinating the making of this enormous banner and great poster with our little thermometer for fundraising. And Daniel put together this great poster with before and afters and not land plans, site plan, home plans, blueprints.
Elevation.
Pardon?
Elevation.
Oh, okay. And Julie Whalen, who's not on this call, but she did a lot to help as well, and she was there to help set up. And Aneshka and Mike and Omari, we all took turns manning the table, personing the table. And Daniel was there for a good couple hours as well, and gave out a couple hugs and lots of conversation to interested people who were there in part because they were honest with us and said they'd hoped to run into him. And so
Daniel has groupies.
But it was a really excellent afternoon. We really had some great conversations with people who, you know, either didn't know about the land bank or were really happy to have the opportunity to learn more about it and have some pretty lengthy conversations. I know Aneshka made a really good contact with the foundation that will be considering making a pretty significant gift to the organization. We did also tout the $5,000 match that we have from an anonymous donor for all funds up to $5,000 that are raised within the month of October. So as of October 16th, I don't have a more recent report, but as of October 16th, we raised $2,981. You know, which with the match comes out to $5,962. So I think that's really exciting and hopeful that, you know, we can reach that full 5,000 so that we can get the full 10,000 for the month of October. So if you are in a position that you can make a donation, if you are in a position that you can encourage friends and family and people who, you know, affordable housing is a significant concern to them, and they want to support the land bank in ensuring affordable housing. Now is a really wonderful time to try and encourage that. So in total right now, through mid-October, that would put our donations at $6,430. And we're, yeah, I'll be able to, I hope, get a report out to you in early first week of November, maybe, when we can, I can settle up with Erica and get the full report of everything that is donated through the end of October. Any questions?
Karen, just to clarify, that full sum is not inclusive of, I think you and Serena both brought in grants, which I understand.
Yeah, so that does not include the grants that we've received. We've received grants totaling $7,000, which we do have. Our ultimate goal is to secure $30,000 by the end of the year. And so that puts us at, with the match funding and the foundation funding, that puts us at $16,400 right now, which is a really great place to be with a couple months to go, and you know, the giving season coming upon us. And so I will say, like, we've we had 32 donations the day of October 9th, which was the day of the event. So those are individual donations that ranged from $20 to $500. So it's really, there are people who want to participate and they want to give. So it's, I think now is a great time to amplify that message. And I also want to say, Alana gave a really great, it wasn't a pep talk, it was an informational talk to several of us the week before the event. And I personally found it incredibly helpful, and made me feel very, very comfortable in just sort of asking people outright at the table, if they would like to join us in affordable housing, making affordable housing possible in Kingston, and make a donation and just make the ask. And so thank you, Alana, for that. And if anyone is interested, I know that she had a few slides prepared, and she did say that she would be happy to chat with anyone for, it doesn't have to be long, on an individual basis. It could probably be like 15 minutes-ish or something, 10 to 15 minutes even, but encourage you to take her up on that. And Mayor Noble, I heard you were there. I wasn't there, but I heard you were also there. And I cannot believe I forgot, I'm sorry. So the Kingston Standard did also commit 10% of their proceeds from that day. And so that came to a total of $619, which I did not include in my count here, in my tally. So it was just incredibly generous of them to give us both the table and 10%. And when I went to pick up materials the next day, the person working there said that that had been their busiest day ever. So they were excited for it as well, I think. Any questions or?
I just want to clarify that the match, is that only through October or is it through the end of the year?
It's through the, as far as I know, it's through the end of October. So that makes me think I should get a more up-to-date amount from Erica now. Erica, I see you've joined us. Maybe if you could have a look, or Mike or whomever receives that info, if you'd be able to let us know. And then maybe we can even do a social media post to try and encourage people.
Yeah, and I saw that we have our Give Gab campaign set up. Are we looking to direct people there, or like how are we?
So Give Gab as of now, thank you for bringing that up. Insofar as I know, Julie has been working on that, on sort of setting up that page, and we were at a point where financial information for the organization had to be entered, and there are sort of some privacy issues with that. So Erica was going to be working with Give Gab to sort of secure that information so that we can move forward. So to my knowledge, it's not ready quite yet.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you, Karen, for all your work on all of this. It's really, really great. So the fact that we're at $16,000, is really amazing. So kudos to everybody that's been helping.
Thanks. Yeah, it's wonderful working with everyone on it. Well, thank you. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. And like everyone else, thank you for all of your work and all that you've put into this. It's inspiring and wonderful. Bartek Communications.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to highlight from this past month is that the board application is now live on our website. We have received some responses, which is great, but I think we need a lot more. And the deadline is November 15th that we've set for that application. So I think as a committee, we'll be doing outreach work, but it's also important for each board member to do their own outreach work. And a few of us have discussed that already. So I think that'll be important. And then I think coming up, the big event that we'll be planning for is the ribbon cutting at 64 Van Buren next month.
Say one thing on that, Bartek. I'm
Yes.
sorry, I neglected. The date is now going to be the 19th at 3 p.m. So, sorry, I
Thank you,
had 2
Mike.
dates
I
in
was
the last
just gonna
email.
ask.
Yep, it's, I glossed right over it. 19th, 3 to 5 p.m. We'll send formal invites and everything. I think this week or so we were shooting for by the 1st.
The first, yeah.
Bartek, is it possible for us to link to the application in the jobs section of the KCLB.org website? Because I didn't see it there.
We can certainly do that. I think that section, in my mind, is for staff opportunities rather than board opportunities. But maybe it's, if someone looks there, we might as well have it there.
Yeah, it would make sense because if you know, by hearsay say, hear that board opportunities there, I would look there first. That's the first place I would go.
Sure. That's all I got, Daniel.
You didn't mention our dig in.
Landscaping event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put a few members of the board through a hard labor camp for 2 hours. So, but no, it was great, and we met the new homeowner as well, and several of the neighbors as well. So it was nice to just be out and about and tidy up around the house.
And the front yard is now full of beautiful, mostly all native plants.
Correct.
And there is a curb tree, which is one of very, very few on Van Buren, and is a priority.
The only one.
The only one, yeah. And is a priority in our design guidelines. So we are following through on that. And we can talk about all the benefits of trees some other time.
We also cleaned up the mess on Van Dusen, which I think was much appreciated by the neighbors. I think they were really relieved to see all that crap go away.
Thank you guys for doing that. Sorry I couldn't make it. Okay, great. Aneshka, talk to us about governance.
Yeah, so we met on October 8th to discuss primarily how we would do the new board applications. And so, and all of that is now in motion. So we decided amongst ourselves that we would not entertain more board positions in this go around, but that it might be something that might be considered in the future. We have already done the temporary replacements for Karen and me. So that was something we talked about. And then one thing that is still sort of dangling out in the air is that we consider the creation of an advisory board to take on tasks that the board might not be able to get to, or, you know, to be useful in other ways, like Julie is right now. Julie's like, would be perfect. So they wouldn't really serve, you know, on the monthly board meetings or committees, but they would be advisory in specific directions. Did anyone on the governance committee have anything else? That's all I had. That's all I wrote down. Is there anything else that's out there that I should talk about? I don't think so, right? We're pretty much
And
at the end of the
Aneshka,
year.
yeah,
and-
Aneshka,
Yes, go ahead.
one thing that we discussed in the comms meeting was about adding additional board members.
Yes.
And we decided that probably we should, but that we'd leave it open until we see the application pool received from the current board application. Is that?
Okay, I think that'll be a discussion that will be open to all of you who are going to be remaining on the board. Yeah, I mean, there's an appetite for it and there's kind of resistance to it as well. So that's a discussion to be had in the future. So, anything else, Bob? Do you remember anything else? No, that was pretty much it. So, let's talk about how we deal with the applications, because those still have to be vetted and read. And then, they have to be, proposed to Steve for the selection of the new members. Daniel, did you want to say something?
I think Alana did. I'm not sure she's.
Oh, Alana?
It's okay, I can wait. I had I wasn't sure like that whole advisory board thing. I had a few thoughts on that, but this may not be the time. So I can wait. Seems like we need to figure out the board stuff first. So
Yeah, it's one step at a time. Yeah.
we can hold off. That's fine.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so the process is that I guess, because, Bob and I are, the members of the governance committee that will, look through the applications and then, suggest, candidates to, Steve. That's kind of how it is now. And Daniel will probably also be part of that vetting process.
Probably.
I just don't, because I remember last time, I don't know how or why, but I was on whatever committee did that, and I'm not on any committee that's on governance. So I'm just trying to remember how or why I did that last time. And if I do remember, we talked about there being ways for other board members to see the applications coming in. There was like a ranking.
That's
system.
exactly right.
Yeah.
But how, I don't know why I was on the committee that helped make the decision, that helped make the recommendations. And so I guess what I'm saying is it seems as if there were people who were not on governance who did it last time. So is that something that we're thinking about?
That's
again?
still an open question. If
Yeah,
we want to
okay.
entertain that, yes.
My recollection is that I think the governance committee kind of did a first pass of the applications.
Mhm.
And I think over email, we circulated either to the full board or people who were interested but not on the committee. And then when we interviewed,
Mhm.
I think that was more or less an open invitation, except not.
Yeah.
As long as it wasn't a quorum. So Alana, I remember you joined the interviews.
Yeah.
And I don't know, our board was so like slim at that point because we were missing so many members. So yeah. So I think, I think new board member selection is, it's ultimately up to Steve to appoint people, but as far as I'm concerned, whoever wants to be involved in the process, we're all going to be working together. So I think, Aneshka, we just sort of keep everybody informed and.
Okay, sure. Bartek, where are those applications coming in? What's the stream coming?
The link is, there's an application online on our website, and then that goes
Mhm.
through a Google form that spits out into an Excel sheet.
Okay, and you have the authorship of that, right?
Yeah, and I can share that with you right now.
Okay, that would be good. Yeah, you can share it with both Bob and I. So we can see it. And Daniel too.
Stop trying to kick me off governance. My happy place, clearly.
That's all I got for everybody.
Okay. Real quick, design committee. Honestly, a pretty quiet month. We have more or less finalized construction drawings from our architects at KDA. Given the, particularly with on Franklin, we may be revisiting those a little bit to see if where there are scope reductions available. Part of I think we discussed this last time, but part of the sort of change evolution of this is that we're going to try doing a fair amount of like fixtures and finishes being owner supplied. So one thing we kind of ran into on the first three is that because these are lump sum contracts, contractors would, for instance, have a $8,000 line item for cabinetry when the cabinets actually only cost $5,000. And because it's a lump sum, that's just sort of what we paid, even though myself and now Jess go through great lengths to find things that are kind of as affordable as possible and still stuff people want to live with. So that also, I think, lends a little bit of context to the estimates or the proposals, because they were excluding a lot of fixtures and finishes that, you know, otherwise would have been in their proposals. So they would be even higher with those things. So there's that. So what I'm working on right now is basically a budget for all of those things. Owen very helpfully put together some spreadsheets to help me out with that. Thank you, Owen. So that budget, I believe, will go to finance. But basically it's me trying to put together numbers that are significantly lower than what we have paid for these things historically, and basically as low as I can responsibly make it. So that's that. And then we have to spec a bunch of fixtures and finishes. So fun. I think that's kind of the update. I don't know, Jessica Farkas, who's one of the other committee members, is kind of taking the lead on 149 Greenkill. She also, after I roped her into joining our design committee, I also then kind of roped her into being one of the designers for the design show house because they needed a kitchen designer real bad. So she ended up doing that too. So she's kind of super involved in the land bank at this point. And did an incredibly beautiful job on that room. And so we're lucky to have her bringing her talents to this other house. So I think that's the update. Cool.
Can I
Now,
ask one question, Daniel?
yeah, of course.
So if the land bank is going to be providing these, owner supplied items, when contractors submit their proposals, will you be asking them, or will the land bank be asking them to separate out, rather than just like the lump sum, to separate out all of the fixtures and other items that the land bank will be providing? So, I mean, ideally, it's supposed to be a cost savings, right? So that their proposals will be lower than they would have been, which is really fantastic. But on their proposals, will they be asked to separate all of that out?
Yes, I mean, the proposals should be in line with the scope of work, which is you don't have to buy kitchen cabinets and countertops and
Okay.
stuff. They do, I mean, the lump sum is broken out into like a schedule of values. The ones that we received this time around, I feel like are more minimal, but maybe that comes out in contract. Owen, do you have a better answer for this than I am?
Well, yeah, I guess I was just gonna say that it's not like if we tell them not to price light fixtures, they just don't price light fixtures. They're not gonna price it and then, tell us that we're saving $4,000 on light fixtures. So
Gotcha. Okay,
we
sorry,
we have to kind of know what we're purchasing and keep track of that. They're not going to provide that information for us.
Okay, and so then you would then be providing sort of the land bank's portion of the budget in the total that gets voted on by the board when accepting a proposal per house, because it would be like the total budget.
We can do something like that, but the vote to accept the contract or to award the contract will be specific to that contract.
Yeah,
And the stuff that we're providing is not gonna be in their cost, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So
that
we
does.
vote
Sorry,
on-
I was just trying to
Yeah.
envision it and, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not sure it did make sense, but sure. We will figure out how to make sure that everything is properly explained and agreed upon. Mike and I will talk about how we do that, I guess. Can't wait. Okay, so now we have on the agenda an executive session to discuss 2022 compensation. So for our esteemed member of the public, this is when we ask you to leave. You are welcome to rejoin the meeting after executive session is over, although nothing will likely happen after that other than adjournment. So thank you for joining us. And I hope it was valuable in some way.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye.
Nice to meet you.
And so I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss 2022 compensation.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I second that.
All in favor of moving to executive session to discuss 2022 compensation? Motion passes unanimously. Mike has made me the host. Mike and Erica and Owen, we're kicking you out.
See you later.
Erica and Owen, you probably don't want to come back. Mike, I'll give you a call when we're.
Sure. The one thing I would mention is now because you're the host, if you'd like to stop recording, that's on you.
Oh, great.
Take care. Nice to see everyone. Hope you have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
We need that.
Can I get a motion to leave executive session?
I make a motion to leave executive session.
I second that motion.
All in favor of leaving executive session?
I,
Oh, shoot.
Motion passes. Should I call Mike? I mean.
Didn't sound like he was coming back.
Hi, do you want to come back? I mean, I think we're just kind of done. Okay. See you later, bye. Okay, we have no members of the public. Does anyone have any new business?
No.
Okay, those that need to do something.
Noble's donation.
Oh, is that, what?
You just got Mayor Noble's donation.
Thank you, Mary. Much appreciated. Okay, ABO folks, don't forget to register. You have 2 months-ish. So, all right. I think just a vote to adjourn then.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
All in favor of adjournment?
I.
Aye.
Great 3 years, you guys. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye.